Indianapolis actually is massive. A huge number of different lifestyles. You have historic districts, you have brand new neighborhoods, different cultural events. So if you're thinking about moving here, it can get overwhelming pretty fast once you realize how many choices there are. So today, here's what we're gonna cover. Why would people be moving here? Not only that, but when they move to Indianapolis, where are most people moving? But then we're also gonna cover, if you don't wanna live in Indianapolis, what are the biggest suburbs around Indianapolis that people are actually moving into? And then also, what about places that are growing really fast? So by the end of the video, you'll have at least a little clearer picture in picking out the place that you want to end up in or around Indianapolis. I'm Jason Compton, a top 1% realtor here in the Indianapolis Metro, and we have helped literally hundreds of families move to any of the places that we're going to talk about in this video, and in addition to these places as well. So let's start with what makes Indianapolis unique. And I think that one of the biggest things that surprises people is how large Indianapolis is. Indianapolis, just by itself, its population, there's over 900,000 people or so. But the entire Indy Metro, there's more than 2 million people, about 2.1 million people. So that's Indianapolis and all the cities and towns that surround it. One of the big things that it offers then is more variety than what you can possibly imagine for a medium-ish size city. Now, most people know Indianapolis for, number one, is sports. It's a pretty big sports town. You have the Pacers, you have the Colts, you have the Fever, you have the Indianapolis Indians, plus the NCAA headquarters is here, plus the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the Indy 500 and all the racing events that go on out there. So it's incredibly diverse when it comes to sports, but it's also diverse when it comes to food, dining, arts, and the unique personalities that you're gonna find in the unique places that you're gonna find. So a lot of people come to Indy and think maybe there's just one place to go if you want one thing. If you want arts, if you want concerts, if you want food, if you want activities, if you want to be outside, that there's just one place to go. But that's not the case at all. There are an unbelievable number of places in and around Indianapolis. So in addition to that would be the job market too. So this is a place where the job market is actually very strong. Great majority of those jobs would be in logistics, pharmaceuticals, like Eli Lilly, and you have healthcare in there, a large number of major hospital systems in Indianapolis. The other industry that's really popped up here over the past 20 years or so is the tech industry. People need to consider several things before they are moving here, looking for all of those things. Number one would be some of the commute patterns. Again, Indy is larger than what you might realize, and the distance that you're gonna have to cover to get from one place to another, or the time it's going to take to get from one place to another. So there are some major highways around Indianapolis and through Indianapolis. I-465, it's an interstate that goes all the way around Indianapolis, but you've got I-69, which goes through from north to south. You've got I-74, you've got I-65, you've got I-70, and these are all major thoroughfares, and a lot of the cities and towns around Indy, and as they go through Indianapolis, there are different traffic patterns to consider. So it could add several minutes to a commute, either in the morning or in the evening, and it's definitely something that you have to keep your eye on. Another big thing to consider, the property taxes. Property taxes are lower in Indiana, but you still have places around the whole metro where they can vary. The way the taxes work in the state of Indiana can be a little bit different than what you have in some other places. Like where I am right now, I'm in Marion County, where Indianapolis is, versus Hancock County to the east, or Hendricks County to the west, or Hamilton County to the north, where you have some really big suburban cities. So inside of each of those, you then have some townships. So you have the county tax, you have the township tax, and they can all vary just a little bit from place to place. All right, so where are those people for the most part moving? When you're talking about a metro as large as Indy is, it can get super overwhelming with the variety that there is and then where you can just fit. So if you have questions about those things, then make sure that you reach out. These are things that we talk about with people all of the time, and getting everything narrowed down for them based on what it is that they want and what it is they need on a day-to-day basis. So let's cover some of the places here in Indianapolis. So the first one that I'm in, I'm actually right out here outside this building. This is the Real Silk Factory. And this, years and years ago, is where my wife used to live and when we met. And we used to walk down the stairs here, I am on Mass Ave now, Massachusetts Avenue. And right here behind me, we just walk right down the street into Mesh, a restaurant down there. There's Chatham Tap, so we wanna go watch a game, have a couple beers. We'd go there, or we'd go down to the south, and you can see a little bit of downtown here right behind me, less than a mile to get all the way into where Bankers Life Fieldhouse is, Lucas Oil Stadium, Victory Field. I love this part of the city. But Mass Ave is just a street. And so the neighborhood that this is at least a little bit a part of is called Chatham Arch. When somebody mentions that they want to live in or near downtown Indianapolis, they want tons of walkability, they want to be able to walk to restaurants or concerts. Chatham Arch is definitely one of the places that pops up in my mind. Lots of maturity. You can see a lot of these homes here behind me. These things are all older. And so all through this particular area, you can find homes that are more than 100 years old. You can also find some homes that have been torn down, and there's a brand new one that's been built in its place. But you do have your sidewalks through here. You do have the feel of being within the city as well. And then just off to the east of where I'm standing right now, I can see buildings along Mass Ave, which runs northeast diagonally straight out of downtown Indianapolis. So insane walkability through here, but it's not very big. So you usually need, depending on the price range, a few more options in that downtown area. So if you go a little bit further north, you get into the Old North Side, and then you get into Heron Morton, and you get into Fall Creek Place. Now, once you start getting up to Heron Morton, the walkability, because it's a little bit further to walk to the south, but easy bike ride. But how often are you gonna do that? You really, for the most part, need a car to get around, except for maybe neighborhoods like this one. You know, this one isn't so bad, but some other options when you're looking inside Indianapolis that we find people tend to gravitate toward would be Meridian Kessler. Meridian Kessler, it used to be the suburbs for Indianapolis, but then people built all of these really nice, super custom homes all through this particular area. So when somebody says, look, we want to be in the city, but we want something unique, we want something that does have some walkability, but we don't want to be just around tons and tons of traffic and right in the city. So this is a mix where you can get that suburban feel, but it's still, again, a little bit urban. So you got some of the sidewalk, tons of mature trees. So in through here, you are going to find homes that are easily more than 100 years old. A lot of the homes here, if they're gonna have a new feel to them, it's because they've been heavily renovated. This is a good example. So we've got the home, we've got a separate garage. I'll walk over here where we can get a little bit closer. Yeah, here we go. We got separate living space above that garage, which is awesome. Unique is the name of the game through here. You won't find a single home that's like another home. But Meridian Kessler is expensive. It's gonna be a little bit difficult to get in here under $600,000. But right next door, the other area that I'd say is similar to this, but a notch down on the price point is gonna be Broad Ripple. All right, just a couple minutes and I'm over in Broad Ripple. In fact, I went a little bit out of the way and went up through Broad Ripple Village, which is what most people know Broad Ripple for. So when you're talking about the nightlife in Broad Ripple, which years ago, I used to go to Broad Ripple a lot. Now I only go during the day. Broad Ripple here, just for one about it, it's mature, just like you find over Meridian Kessler. It's just the difference, the major difference between this and Meridian Kessler would be the price point. So it's a little less expensive to get into Broad Ripple. The homes in Broad Ripple on average are smaller than what you have in Meridian Kessler. And when I mean smaller is that you can get into Broad Ripple here and find bungalows. So 2-bedroom, 1-bath, single family homes. That's very small. So over in Meridian Kessler, you're looking at 4,000, 5,000, and actually you can get all the way over to 12,000 square foot homes in Meridian Kessler. So Chatham Arch, and then Meridian Kessler and Broad Ripple, these are some of the big hot spots that we see all through Indianapolis and people moving here and wanting this particular kind of vibe. So those not wanting to live in Indianapolis for whatever reason that might be, they usually turn their attention to the two biggest suburbs just north of Indianapolis. And right now I'm in Carmel, Indiana, and Carmel, Indiana is wildly popular with people. It's hugely popular because it is wildly safe. The schools in Carmel are top notch, even though the high school itself is the biggest high school in the state of Indiana. It's one of the biggest in-person high schools in the entire country. There's well over 5,000 kids that go to the high school, but still incredibly highly ranked school. So the job market here is very strong. It has its own job market, and there are people around the Indianapolis metro that come to Carmel for their work versus Indianapolis. And of course, the Arts and Design District, Midtown, City Center, all of which make up the downtown part of Carmel, Indiana. It is just enormous for a city of just over 100,000 people. Now, Carmel itself has more energy and is a little busier, I think, than what people realize. A lot of transient traffic through here, people coming from Westfield through Carmel to go to Indianapolis, going from Indy through Carmel to go to any of the other cities that surround it, like Zionsville or Fishers. It's not like it's New York crazy or Miami crazy, but there is definitely an energy here. And some people want a little bit of that, but not to the level that the downtown area is, where you just have throughout the entire week people crawling all over that place. I mean, they are everywhere on their feet, on their bikes, pushing strollers, driving cars. It's a busy spot. Strangely though, most people that we help move to Carmel, they love the downtown area, but they're okay with not being right in the downtown area. Part of that is that people are coming to a place like Carmel to be a little bit away from that kind of energy, that kind of busyness. Usually they want all of those factors and be relatively close to it. So you're talking where I'm standing right now to get into downtown Carmel, it's less than 10 minutes. You can actually be involved with the city, but I still want those good schools and I still want that safety. The issue with Carmel is that it's one of the most expensive places to live around Indianapolis. And so the median price point right now in Carmel is around $570,000. So when you're looking in Carmel under $600,000, you can do it. You definitely can, but your money's not gonna go nearly as far here as what it is in other parts of Indianapolis and in other cities and towns around Indianapolis. All right, just across White River and into Fishers, Indiana. Just like Carmel. Why is it popular? For a lot of the same reasons. High quality of life, a strong job market, very, very safe, and it's also exceptionally family friendly and can exist on its own. It has its own downtown area, although it's not as large as Carmel. The Nickel Plate Amphitheater, though, and live music there blows everyone else away around the whole Indy Metro. It is really, really an insanely good time in downtown Fishers. A really strong sense of community through here and a nice cultural heart to it, that downtown area. But again, most people aren't gonna live right there in that downtown area. They're gonna live in neighborhoods like this, which happens to be a little bit older. And then as you go further to the east in Fishers, it gets newer and newer and newer because that's most of where Fishers has expanded to over the past 20 or 30 years. We have a ton of videos about Carmel and about Fishers and even comparing the two. And you can get into a little more detail on our website, livinginindianapolis.com. You go to explore. There is actually an interactive map on there and you can hover over any of the cities and towns around Indy. So it's a nice little tool. But Carmel tends to be more expensive than Fishers. When you're looking at median price point here in Fishers, it's closer to that $500,000 mark. So your money does go a little bit further. There are two high schools in Fishers. So you have Fishers High School and you have Hamilton Southeastern High School. And when you combine the two together, you're looking at about 6,700 kids. There are more opportunities in Fishers for first-time home buyers because it's less expensive, but you got a lot of families in here that, hey, we just had kids or we're about to have kids, and they get into that family house in Fishers a little more easy than you can in Carmel. So Fishers and Carmel both are just absolutely places we see people flocking to for a huge variety of reasons. Then of course we do talk to people that are interested in the fast growing communities around Indianapolis. Fast growing, you're talking about new construction. Now some of those places that we see around Indy, lots of them, but the one that rises to the top of the list most of the time is Westfield. Now Westfield is absolutely booming. So if you look back before the year 2000, there were less than 10,000 people there, and now it's pushing 60,000 people. It is not going to be surprising if inside the next 15 or 20 years, Westfield is larger than Carmel and larger than Fishers, more than 100,000 people. And they're planning for that. So it is spreading to the north, it is spreading to the west, but it's not inexpensive anymore. Now the median price point in Westfield is around $490,000. Now, a couple other places that are somewhat near Westfield would be Brownsburg over on the west side of Indianapolis, and you're looking at close to $390,000, that median of what you can expect there. However, it's smaller than Westfield, so less than 40,000 people, but growing and has some room to grow. And then not terribly far from Brownsburg or Westfield, you have Whitestown. This is the one that's the most surprising to just about everybody. They can't believe how fast Whitestown is actually growing. Whenever I was a teacher at Westfield High School, as a science teacher for 16 years, I have watched Westfield really grow up. There's more than 3,000 kids there now at the high school, and when I started there, there was just over 600. We would drive through Whitestown a lot. We joke that we don't think anybody even lives here because we have never seen a single person out anywhere in Whitestown. And now that's totally changed. And that median home price there is pretty similar to what you have in Brownsburg, just a little under $390,000. So still relatively affordable. Right now, really the most affordability that you're gonna find almost anywhere in the Indianapolis metro is to the east. And where I am right now, I am in Depot Park in Greenfield, Indiana. And Greenfield is a small city, about 25,000 people or so in Hancock County, and it is astounding to people. There's less than 90,000 people in this entire county. Incredibly small right now. And so of course everybody's eyes are over this way as far as expansion and new construction is concerned. So when you're looking at new construction around Indianapolis, sometimes the price point has to do with how far along it is and how many amenities it has, how many attractions it has, how many restaurants it has. Westfield is really far down the line. Extremely nice place to live, and you can find some extremely nice new construction homes there, but you will pay a higher price for those. When you come into a place like this in Greenfield, it's much more as Westfield was 20 years ago. So there's not as much here yet, but that median price point here is just over $300,000. And that is probably going to continue to increase. Indianapolis is diverse. It gets to be a little bit difficult to try to find what is the best fit, what's the right vibe, what's the right lifestyle, what's the right distance to where I want to be. My family, how are they going to fit into this particular city or this particular neighborhood? This is exactly what we do with our clients every single week. We tailor the information to what it is that they want and they need. So if you want that kind of guidance, then feel free to reach out by calling, text, or emailing with the contact information that you find below. And if you want to dig into some of the rest of that channel about Indianapolis and all these cities and towns that surround Indianapolis, then watch this next video and we'll catch you in the next one.